Was there? The only like show thing we went to at NAMM was that Epiphone thing. There wasn't really anything noteworthy.
Yeah,
because we stayed for like
we can talk about how like everyone's like, oh, you gotta go see. Do you like live music?
Well, I didn't go, so that we could do the shows I didn't go to.
Here's
segment.
what you didn't miss at Summer NAMM.
How was it overall?
It was all right. Let's just shut up. Let's start the show and then we'll talk about it because that's how this works.
I see.
All right, we're in the thing.
Beyond Thunderdome. I've got to hear this.
Oh, these are the MST things I get.
Oh, come on. Can't we just get beyond Thunderdome? Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
I thought this one might come in handy, though.
Yes.
Because that's how I felt during Father John Misty. All right. Let me actually go live, and then... I know what I was going to do. Turn off the audio so we can all... Okay. So... All right, welcome to Your Music is Bad and You Should Feel Bad, episode 57. We're going to talk about Summer NAMM and the Megadeth Meshuggah Tesseract show. It's totally the wrong order of priority, but that we went to in Maryland. And I'm going to put the camera on too.
That'll help.
Transition. There we go. Okay. Just about got this shit down any day.
We're gonna have a really mysterious episode.
Also, we're streaming again to Facebook. If you want to like distract us, post comments and stuff, and I'll keep an eye on it. And maybe or maybe not, we'll interact or we'll ignore you.
Also,
depending on how we feel.
Well, I cut my hair and my battle beard, so if you want to tell me how terrible I look, we'll.
All right, so let's just start with that show because that was the chronologically. So we went to was the show in Bethesda?
No, it was in Silver Spring, which is literally like I don't know, probably 500 feet from DC.
All right, so pretty close to DC.
It's DC.
So we went to DC more or less for Meshuggah because they're worth seeing pretty much any time. And also,
bizarrely, there was no New York show for the tour. There was like an upstate one.
Yeah, well, to be fair, again, it was really a Megadeth tour, and I don't know, and that was the other thing is I was like, I'm due to see Megadeth again. Kiko's a pretty good guitar player, and it was a different guy last time I saw him, so. Let's see how they're doing.
Gotta get it out of your system.
They always play
once in
some
a
good
while.
old stuff. Yeah, they always.
No, I've never
and
seen
they lived
a
up
bad
to that
Megadeth
too.
show.
Yeah,
they
they've
always
still kept
do
it up.
Pretty good job.
And you know what? It's set list, right? It's because you play enough old stuff, then people will put up with some new stuff.
Yeah.
And
Plus,
then you close out with some old stuff.
Their new stuff isn't terrible. It's just bland.
Right.
And it just sounds like if you were a band that really liked Megadeth, and that was so they're basically
they become a Megadeth tribute band, just like Dream Theater's become a Dream, and that's the like usual third stage of you have the good stage, and then you have the like. We're going to experiment, but in ways that everyone will regret. And then they're like, I don't know, fuck it. Let's just do the old shit.
That was a risk.
Right.
And,
exactly.
Yeah, now they're just bland. But the other thing is, too, like, they don't really run risk of, like, Dave's voice going bad because the whole appeal of Dave's voice is that it's bad.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. I remember, like, he had that period where, like, he probably took some lessons and it made him... like more accurate, but not as like
I actually
thrashy sounding. But I think
actually don't think he took lessons because I know that's what happened with Hetfield.
Right.
I think Dave. It was literally he just quit drinking and doing drugs.
Yeah.
And so then like his voice worked.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that was part of it too. But he quit. He quit. you could hear his voice get better a few albums after he quit drugs, I think, unless he, relapsed. I don't know. But I could be wrong. I could be wildly speculating.
Maybe that was around the time he
Music Wars.
found Christ.
Music Wars.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Also, when he found InfoWars at some point. But yeah. I gotta make a shorter.
Isn't one of their albums from like 10 years ago? Wasn't it basically a concept album about 24?
Was it
Jack Bauer or something? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
I'm pretty
Wait,
sure.
what?
I think the one that came out in like 2007 was like
Okay.
2006 to 2008. Look up the Megadeth discography
All right.
and pull up that period, because I think whatever album came out during that time was a Jack Bauer's
Okay,
or 24
This sounds
concept album.
absolutely ridiculous.
was okay?
But,
So
no, but it
totally
just
probable.
Sounded, it just sounded like
okay, so here's the thing. Okay, so 2004 is The System Has Failed. 2009 is Endgame.
Wait, there wasn't one between those?
2001 is The World Needs a Hero, which sounds like.
Probably.
Right, that
but-
name sounds like it, but
It's
But I
about
don't
the
think
right
that. Oh,
time
United
for-
Abominations is
yeah,
2007.
that one. I thought that one was like the 24 concept album.
Man, there's a lot of Megadeth albums I've skipped. All right, let's see.
Most of them.
Background.
Maybe not. Or maybe it was unofficial, so they didn't
yeah.
have to pay for
This
licensing.
one, he said some of the lyrics were written about his frustration with his past record labels. That's always a good topic for a song, right? Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't, because I know that he had some stuff where it was like,
Well, maybe World Needs a Hero. I don't know. I get because 24 is old, right? It was out by
Pretty old.
2001,
but it also ran for like 8 seasons or something, so it stretches a pretty.
so it should have been some much larger number.
Oh, it is United Abominations.
It is.
Well, it's like a fan theory that people argue
Oh.
about.
It had,
then-
a
then-
lot of traction when it came out.
Like 3 years ago, he talked about Jack Bauer in some interview as inspiration for his music.
Yeah. Okay, so just add that to the list of crazy dumb bullshit that Dave Mustaine is.
Wait, okay, so in this process, I just found out so that the album Endgame, blah blah blah, with lyrics inspired by subjects ranging from The Lord of the Rings and the financial crisis of 2008.
Yeah.
To insanity, torture, and crime. But which track is Lord of the Rings? Like which? Like it probably doesn't sound like it. It's not like he doesn't sound like Blind Guardians for a track or something. But you never. What the fuck?
I don't know. Speaking of
The hardest. Oh, there's a song Chris Broderick co-wrote on this called "The Hardest Part of Letting Go." ... Sealed with a kiss. Like what is that?
Is it like the hardest part of rollerblading?
Bro.
I think it's more like the hardest part of when you get kicked out of Megadeth.
Right. And that was maybe that was like, did he kiss him goodbye? Is there like, does Megadeth give you a kiss of death when you're done with?
I could see that. Well, because like I said, Dave's all Christy now. Maybe there's like some weird Judas ritual.
I
that
think
happens,
Dave literally
and
gives you a
then-
kiss.
and then you have a Last Supper with the band.
All right, so okay. So first of all, we showed up for who? Do you remember the
Lil Lake. The first band was Lil Lake.
Lil
And
Lake.
so the deal was, I'd never heard of these guys. And so then I listened to their album before we went to the show. And my overall impression was, it's not like exceptional, but it's also not bad. It felt like it was one of these deals where give these guys a couple of years and they might put something out that's good.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't particularly interesting, but it wasn't bad. It was like, they seemed to know what they were doing, and they seemed to have label support. So I was like, yeah, we should try to catch some of their set. So we caught like the end of it, and it was weird because the dude said, where did I put this? He goes, this was the last song. He's like, I want to see some movement for this one. Like, we wanted people to mosh.
Right.
But then it was like the tamest song. It had a bunch of like clean sections. And I don't mean clean vocals, I mean like clean guitars.
Right.
Unmoshable. But people in Silver Spring found a way. It was really bizarre. But so whatever, good for them. They're on tour. It's probably fun. Maybe keep an eye out. But the other thing is they're all over the place. If you listen to the album, there's like a doom track and there's like a super thrash track.
And you pointed out I think the second to last track was the the thrashy track that you mentioned was like the appropriate. And you're like, this is the thrash one, and I was like, yeah, I get that.
But then they also do the like prog double picking in 7 thing, so they haven't picked a style yet, or maybe who knows, maybe they're the new crabcore. They just play all the styles like one after the other.
Yeah.
Even though they don't know what like polystylistic actually means, but that's another thing. Anyway, that's actually probably way more time than they deserve. Right, so then it was Tesseract, and the hilarious thing about that was they're like the set just started like they're, as you're saying, like there's so
like
much
their
the
songs.
same,
Right.
They're like they have so much sameness that it was literally like they just jumped into it,
which is also how most of their songs are. Like they have that unique that like Gent has really mastered avoiding sounding like a song should start the way it is starting. It's like down, and you're like, whoa, hold on, what's going on? Right. But sometimes they're like, I don't know how to start the song, so I don't know, do some like spacey stuff with band delays or whatever, and then just but like they're like, screw that extra crap, just jump into
Let's
it.
just get to the genting.
And that's also usually how their songs end, just abruptly.
Right, they just stop. Yeah, so they had zero intro. They just started playing. And then you're like, all right.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, like, all their songs sounded the same. You were saying they played
the one song that I can, like, recognize because on Altered States, which is probably the only album of theirs I've, like, completely listened to and more than once even. But then I think the third time around, I got real bored. Because there's one song on there with, like, a distinct vocal melody, and it's that song Nocturne. There's some other, because every album has like a bunch of different, like they try to do the whole proggy like dividing stuff, but there's no real reason behind it. And like Altered States, when you look at the titles and the name of the album, and even listening to it, you're like, this is kind of interesting. I wonder what it's about. And they're like, it was about how there's lots of changes in the band because the lineup had changed. And I was like, what? Fuck it. It's like Dave was saying, like, this album's about frustrated with my previous album, like record labels. Like, you've made so many albums. Megadeth's been around for so long. Like, don't whine about your record. Like, fuck that shit. Like, but I guess whatever. He needs something to inspire him.
Right,
so he watches InfoWars. But sorry, for Tesseract.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
I thought you were gonna bring out some InfoWars.
No, something started on my phone. My bad.
This show's live.
I was looking for InfoWars.
Yeah. So, but yeah. But that album had their weakest vocalist, and the previous guy came back, I guess because they were doing better and his other thing didn't go anywhere. Like he supposedly, I think he left to do something like pop, quote unquote poppy, but that never fucking works. And so then Tesseract was doing well. He's like, oh no. So he's back, but like you don't really notice the difference because it's not like he's
right. No,
he's
I
that
actually
much
didn't.
better.
No, I didn't even realize they had
He
different
is slightly
vocalists.
better because the other dude was so, like he was a notch, like a lot of gent vocalists kind of sound soft to me, or I don't know if that's the right way to describe it. Yo, they soft. Like I'm not saying like they not hard, but like their vocals are very soft, and it makes them blend in well. And again, it turns the vocals into like an ambient instrument rather than the lead. And so this guy, the previous guy who was on Altered States, he was a step more ambient than this guy. But this guy isn't that much more dynamic, and the melodies are still like avoiding coherency most of the time.
There's not a lot you can do with the material. Is the deal. Yeah, no, I had no idea. And well, that's a good segue to the what I wanted to mention was in their banter, their between song banter. Yeah. So they were, at least they get props for being acutely aware of like what tour they're on, because he goes, you probably don't know who we are. And it was like, fair. A lot of people at a Megadeth show probably don't. But again, the people that showed up early enough to see you, maybe they do. But I certainly did not know who he was, because I didn't realize there were multiple vocalists in the past of the band. And then he said something super weird. He was like, I don't know because they're British or what, but he goes, "You've been very respectful thus far." I'm like, when I think of things that I want an audience to be,
especially a metal audience,
right? Respectful's not really near the top of the list. Like, I mean, I guess unless they're like throwing stuff at you.
Maybe that's what he's been getting. Maybe it's more commentary on a different show on the tour than that one.
Yeah,
it's
who
like,
knows?
oh man, you guys are so respectful.
No one told us to go.
Oh, maybe he's getting people who are like, "Fuck you, where's Megadeth?" You know,
Right? Yeah. Well, if you
Look at
like,
most
what's
of the
this
audience.
shit?
It's like the heavy metal parking lot reunion tour.
Yeah. I don't know, man. But so it just seemed like a really strange comment to make.
Yeah.
Respectful.
But yeah, so I thought that the vocalist who's the old vocalist and he's now the new vocalist. So I guess he's really just kind of been the vocalist most of the time at this point. But I don't pay that much attention to Tesseract. So another thing was that the guy who was on the one album and then left, he couldn't do any harsh stuff. And I guess this guy can do some, but then I realized at the show they still don't use it much, so it really doesn't matter. It's still basically just like the Gent band with just clean vocals is kind of their thing. And that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, it was really, it was very sleepy time, which is appropriate.
I like the one song. I like the one song that they played. Yeah, even though it also is sleepy,
Right,
and it's called Nocturne. So
they're very stasis. The songs just sort of go on for a minute and then they stop.
it's got like the one like really good genty riff.
They don't gent very hard.
No, it's not hardish. They also do this thing which really I don't like most of the time, where it's like they don't do like palm muting. They do the like finger mute, like where it's like more of like a string scrape. It's like down like that kind of thing instead of actually palm muting like a real guitar player. Right. And so
they do that.
So like when that album came out, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then after a while, you're like, not that interesting. Not that interesting.
Not 60 minutes worth of interesting.
But
Yeah,
they were the same basically. They weren't any better or worse than any other time. They're the same.
Dull.
At least both guitar players were there, and there wasn't like because the last time I saw them, one of the guitar players was out. They didn't say anything until like the end almost. But I was like, there's two guitars. Like, what is? Oh, it's a track. So they got like, and I don't think they had a bass player at all at the time. Oh wait, no, maybe they did. I don't know. There was tracks.
They just had a guitar.
And the singer
bass.
wasn't very good. This is the previous one who's gone now. So anyway, so
speaking of bands that are missing a guitar player,
good segue.
I'm all over it.
Yeah, this is also the most. This
missing.
actually gives us something to talk about with Meshuggah though, because they were still amazing and they were still Meshuggah, but it was interesting because Frederick Thorndahl was out and his substitute was Per Nilsson from Scar Symmetry, who I do not care for.
Yeah.
Right.
And he played a headless guitar, and you could hear it. You could hear that it was a headless guitar. Sounded a little thin. Also, I'm pretty sure he had squiggly frets, which fucking pointless. But yeah. But he did all right. You know, I really can't complain too much.
Yeah, he played the parts. They weren't like super tight, his tone wasn't that great, but.
And it was like half as long as it should be.
Yeah. So So this is the only time I'd ever seen Meshuggah not headline and not at a festival, right? Because you can't be expected to headline every festival you play. So the festival gigs I've seen them at 3 festivals, and they didn't.
Didn't they play on like?
I think they only headlined one of those.
One of somebody's farewell tours, like Ministry or something.
Oh, you're right.
Right.
I did see
think you were at that show.
at Irving Plaza.
Yeah.
Correct. They opened for Ministry. You're right. That is the one time. But at that show, very important difference from this show, they did not play Future Breed Machine at this show.
Right.
So they didn't. It was weird. They didn't have an encore.
Yeah.
And so the set was pretty short, and then like they didn't just like play Future Breed Machine to end the set. Like, I don't know. Oh, maybe that's because maybe he doesn't have the breath controller, like doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. But yeah, that was weird. They
Things
didn't play.
that are obvious that we didn't consider.
Well, you have to. At the time, I
Right.
had been moshing for the entire set, and I somehow injured my left hand. It was like I have no idea how. It was like the set was over, and we went down to the downstairs bar, and I was like, man, it really hurts to close my hand.
Speaking of moshing, though, there was some dude crowd surfing in a wheelchair, which was
Oh,
pretty fucking
That,
brave.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was insane.
And like nobody seemed to get really hurt by it, which surprised. And like he made it
Yeah.
all the way. But like there were a few minutes though where you were like, oh shit, because somebody wasn't ready for like.
You're
there's a
looking at
lot of
this
weight.
like, is this happening?
Yeah, you're like, I mean, I guess good for that dude, but like,
Apparently, he was really cool. Like, some people we know talked to him.
oh
so.
cool.
Yeah,
cool.
it was it was an eventful pit because there was the dude in the wheelchair. There was a guy in the pit like with his girlfriend, and he wasn't like a huge dude. Like he was like a big guy, but he wasn't like, he wasn't one of these dudes where you see him and you're like, oh, like steer clear of that guy. He was just like guarding his girlfriend in the pit, and he did like a really good job. And then like 2/3 of the way through, he got a phone call. He was like, "We gotta go," and he like pulls her out the pit. It was super weird. And then I hurt my hand, and I probably broke my phone because it was still working, and then it died. Like overnight, it died, and so I'm guessing it probably was holding on.
Yeah.
And then it gave out. But yeah, the show wasn't loud. I didn't have my plugs in. That was kind of disappointing. But I mean, it was Meshuggah was also, they played Bleed, right?
Yeah.
Like so that was great. I'm happy we went, but it was probably the worst Meshuggah show I ever saw, or that I have seen.
Yeah.
But it was still awesome.
Yeah. It's it's like the bar set so high that you got a little room to work with.
Yeah.
Even if subpart Meshuggah show is like pretty awesome still.
Pretty
Because their floor is like way higher
Yeah,
than
yeah.
pretty much any band.
Yeah. So, maybe they had to cut Future Breed Machine so they had time to set up the like ridiculous Megadeth VIP like hey, do you want to pay extra to look really dumb, but like you get to be awkwardly on the side of the stage for
But not
the
on the
first
side of the stage, like to the
Right,
side.
no,
They're on the stage.
They're on the stage.
Yeah.
Like if this was a band with keyboard players, that's where the keyboards would have been,
Right.
and
Dude.
they're like little like taped off sections, and they're like stand in this spot.
Yeah, no, it was bizarre.
Yeah.
Right, because they just so first of all, the thing was I wouldn't want to have to follow Meshuggah. And
Yeah.
so I think because of that,
doesn't care.
well, I don't know. It was like an hour, but after like there was the huge like the last time I had to wait that long between bands at a metal show was Hypocrisy in like
They had to
2001.
were the cabs
2002.
the cabs were up already, right?
Oh, well, I don't.
They were putting them up
There was
while it was
they
going
had a
on.
ton of gear.
Yeah.
Right.
They had a wall of cabs. They had a ton of gear, but it doesn't matter. They set it all up, and then we waited another half hour.
If I was smart,
Yeah, they were like quick.
I would have put the pictures on my.
Yeah, no, a picture would be
thing.
extremely helpful to show the
Oh wait, let me just go to my Instagram.
what the taped off areas were with the people standing. It was literally like they were prisoners on stage. It was bizarre.
As much gear as they set up, though, still less than when we saw Ingve.
That was correct. They had fewer cabinets than
It
Yngwie.
was more symmetrical and like.
well,
Functional.
Well, no, the other thing was so Yngwie literally was just like all you could see was gear, and so it was just like a mountain of gear. But Megadeth had a video screen, so you needed to be able to see, the screen, so they couldn't just like cover it with amps.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was, I don't know, it was weird though, because they had like a lot of the video was like really on the nose. Like they would say, so Symphony of Destruction, right?
Yeah.
He talks about the rats. He's not talking about like, I mean, it's like a metaphor. Admittedly, the story of the Pied Piper, like, it is not a metaphor. But he would say rats, and they would show rats, and then he would say symphony, and then they would show like a conductor, like conducting a symphony.
Hey man,
It was
you can't mess with metaphor and drunk Megadeth fans. That's just a recipe for
but it's
disaster.
literally like they hired someone to go through like stock footage and just be like, yeah, whatever. Just anything that you find that matches the words we said, just use that. So it was really bizarre. And then, so I guess, was it Vic that came out? Like they had this robot, or was that a different thing? Because the one didn't look like Vic. It looked more like a 70s Battlestar Galactica Cylon or something.
Oh yeah. It was there was two of them, right?
Right.
There was a big complicated one that was the Cylon, or like
Right, but
to
was
me
that
it also
supposed to be Vic?
Yeah, well, it's always supposed to be Vic.
Okay,
I
well,
mean, it's a really shitty, dumb
Well,
new version of Vic.
Well,
but
right, so because the thing was, it just felt really like, if you've ever seen Iron Maiden live, right, and they have Eddie come out in various
Yeah.
things, like, it really felt like they were like, oh, well, we're doing the Iron Maiden thing, but it just didn't look like Vic at all. Like, I was like, what is this? But yeah, they had this big dumb robot come out on stage and walk around. All
right, this'll do.
This is before you took the picture of the screen in the bar downstairs.
We were downstairs.
This is before they brought the prisoners on stage.
Also, there's the tally. It's 12 4x12s and 8 8x10s.
Shout outs to that downstairs bar, by the way, for the free drinks.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, and also the sitting down.
This was
that was a great part
This
of
was
that.
at the Fillmore, by the way. The Fillmore in Silver Spring.
Nice venue.
Yeah, there was upstairs would have been sweet for Megadeth.
Yeah.
They have a balcony with seating.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So what else? Megadeth was pretty good, and they played a pretty. They seem to always, at least when I've seen them, they seem to always do Tornado of Souls and Holy Wars.
Oh yeah.
And usually Sweating Bullets.
Usually Hangar 18 and Sweating
Hangar
Bullets.
18. Yeah. There's
Hangar
like
18 was pretty early on the set.
yeah.
They played a bunch of really cool stuff though. Like they played like Through My Darkest Hour.
Oh yeah.
And
That was good.
they played Peace Cells.
Peace Cells, Atulamond.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like they played
Symphony
lots
of
old
Destruction was like at the end, I think.
Yeah.
They know what the hits are.
Stuff. They did.
They play the hits.
They did play the hits.
There was only, I feel like only a few like songs where I was like, this is from one of them recent albums. It was like maybe one from each of like two or three maybe. Like it wasn't oppressively a lot of new stuff.
I think, did they play anything off Risk, or did they just skip it? Like they didn't play Crush 'Em, did they?
No, I don't think so.
I think they
skipped
did.
it.
I think they did play Trust though.
There was a good
yeah, yeah.
40
They played
minutes of
Trust.
bland in their set, though.
Yeah.
At least.
No, but like it from those two albums, Trust is the least terrible
Right,
song.
Trust is just the like we tried to go for like
It's-
catchy songwriting, but at least we're still like
It's their best I can.
yes,
No, it
Totally.
It's the first song on the album.
Yeah.
It has the same kind of feel. It just doesn't have a horn section keyboard riff.
that's such a positive message about stuff.
The only
In case you don't know what we're talking about, it's a Queensryche song from the album Empire. I'm sure there's a hilarious video
there is.
if you go on YouTube.
There is.
It's
It's an EMI video. No, the thing that was weird to me was that they were playing to a click. Because Megadeth is kind of one of those things that doesn't
Yeah.
really seem like it needs or benefits
It's
from
probably
a click.
yeah. Well, it's probably because the videos they're using are synced. Although again, that you don't necessarily have to then do the entire show on a click, but it's probably easier if you're trying to make everything. If you're using it for some
Right.
stuff, it's probably easier just to use it for everything. And especially if members keep changing, it's like, listen, here's the program, or here's what you got.
Yeah.
play it to this click, and
Well, and so speaking of the video, there was the one part where there was video of Kiko playing the solo as if like it was in that typical like you put a GoPro on the headstock. But I was like, is this live video?
I think it was. They have a thing in the...
Because I couldn't see his guitar at that point because he was
Yeah.
on the other side of the stage
Yeah,
and
I
we were
didn't
way in
see
the
much of
back,
Kiko.
and so I couldn't really see him, and so I didn't know if it was live or what. But I was like, if it's not live, it's synced up incredibly well.
Yeah, well, some of the videos were definitely synced, especially some of the recent stuff. But yeah, it was good though.
But speaking of having a ton of gear on stage, I'm pretty sure Dave's playing an Axe Effects.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because I looked it up.
Oh nice.
Yeah, no, because I was wondering that because I mean he has a really like modded JCM 800 kind of tone still, and it's like, I mean, no one else is playing with that tone. Like he's the
Right.
only one, and like even Metallica have abandoned their like 80s tone, you know, and so I was like, oh, I'm like, I wonder if he just like has a Kemper that like they have he has a couple amps. It was like, no, he's playing Axe Effects. I was like,
Nice.
oh, okay.
Well, that's good, and that probably explains why it sounded good too. Because I remember when I first saw them at Ozfest in '99, he was still using, I think, the JMP, so he was still using a legit tube preamp.
Well, and Marty Friedman was playing the Crate Blue Voodoo,
Yeah.
which is a terrible amp.
Yeah. And so the JMP was cool, but then he switched to like this Rocktron, I think it was the Rocktron Prophecy or something. He did a bunch of like weird preampy
Right, and he would
things.
play through those Marshall power block
Yeah.
amps that no one played.
Yeah,
He was literally the only person
So
playing them.
basically, when he stopped using the JMP, he sounded like crap until more recently, and then I guess that would explain why this tour he sounded good, because Axe Effects will do it.
Yeah.
There's also a JMP model in there,
Oh, yeah.
so that's also possible if he was like, I gotta get my old tone, or he could at least use it for some stuff if that's what he, I don't know, or not. Nobody's gonna notice. All right, so I think that's pretty much. What else? Is anything else with that show? I think that
I mean, it was just Megadeth were good. They're always
Yeah.
good. Like, if you haven't seen them, you should go. If you saw them before and you liked it, it'll be the same thing.
Oh yeah, and it was notable that like since the first band was all right, there was really nobody bad on the bill.
Yeah.
It was like, this is a perfect example of like, we can only talk for so long because we're like, it was good. It's a good show. I enjoyed it, and
Plus
And mo-
Tesseract would have been.
And they were
would've been
mostly,
They're
they
all
were professionals. They didn't do any
Yeah.
like crazy Spinal Tap
yeah,
bullshit.
yeah. I mean, Dave. Although I was actually hoping that Dave would like go on an InfoWars rant or something. I honestly was like, could you be a little less professional? So something
That's what
hilarious.
that's what the video screen was. It
Well,
was like,
yeah, it's like he puts it into the art, man. So he doesn't have to say anything. Art speaks for
for
itself.
itself.
Yeah.
Say it with flowers or your art about blowing stuff up.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Summer NAMM. So we was in Nashville, where it was really hot, and so Summer NAMM. Okay, so we talked about Winter NAMM a few times. Not that they're very popular episodes because it's like very specific gear nerdery
Yeah,
stuff.
well, but also there's so much hilarity that goes on with Winter NAMM because you have all these people
Right.
who still think it's the 80s.
Yeah. I should lead. Next
That
time
happens at
I'll
normal NAMM. Oh, sorry.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Normal NAMM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you were paying attention. Okay, I got you. I got it. Right. That's part of the appeal, and that's why that's half of what we usually talk about. It's not so much about what gear we saw, but in this case, man, this is what I expected to just be talking about. Is like, it's a lot smaller, and we knew that going in, and we knew that like a lot of people are like, why would you go to Summer NAMM? We're like, cause we could. Like,
Right,
fuck
'cause-
you. Why do you go to Summer NAMM?
Because we don't have jobs.
Yeah, and we're like, well,
it's a thing that's happening.
if
we like gear.
If it's lame, we don't have to go again. Like, it's not the end of this is not a big deal.
Right.
And
Well, I definitely think it's worth going to again, but I think the thing
yeah.
to do. So this show's only 3 days,
Yeah.
right? And Saturday is open to the public day. So I think the thing to do in the future is just take Friday off and then fly like Thursday night,
Yeah.
right? So that because the thing about this show is it's really easy to get people's time. Like, we were talking to Negrini
Yeah.
for like however long until it was like, all right, we're gonna go somewhere else now. And like some booths, like those two kids from Chicago who like it was like kept being like, yeah, okay, that's
Yeah.
that's cool. All right, thanks. Okay.
Oh, that's really cool, man. Like,
Please stay. Talk to us.
right. They were like, you're the first people who know what a guitar is, and it's like that's not true. So be like, go for Friday so that you can do any business that you actually are trying to do, and then if there's stuff you didn't see or you want to hang out some more, you know you can go to Saturday as well. But
As
you only need one day to do the whole thing.
As a comparison, Winter NAMM, like, for at least us, especially who have like multiple, like, we're not just looking at guitars, we're looking at all kinds of stuff. So we can really take 3 days at Winter NAMM. You know, it's 4 days, but like the fourth day is like you probably are gonna be too exhausted anyway, or like you want to like double check stuff,
Right.
anything you maybe missed, you're like, oh crap. But for the most part, you need those 3 days, and like I wouldn't want to miss Thursday, right? But with this one, we came in late on Thursday, got there at like 4 p.m. Show
Yeah.
closes at 6.
Yeah.
Did like not even the full 2 hours because suddenly we're like, I'm hungry. This isn't very big. We'll come back tomorrow. By
Yeah.
by like 2 p.m. on Saturday, we were like, I think we saw everything.
No, 2 p.m. on Friday.
I'm sorry, I mean Friday. I mean
Yeah,
Friday.
yeah.
The second
No,
day.
you
It
can
was
do-
like took
you-
like a.
You can do the whole show in 8 hours.
It was like 3/4 of a day if you add it all up to what you need to do the entire thing.
Yeah.
How big is the space that it's in?
So it's
It's like one hall
Right.
of the winter one.
yeah. So Winter NAMM is basically 4 halls on the floor, and then there's one in the basement, and then there's stuff upstairs, and then this year they're expanding it. There's like a new
there's a
hall.
whole
so
new
this,
building.
So this show's basically like 1/5 the size of Winter
And
NAMM.
The other interesting thing, there's technically the space is 2 halls of the Music City Center.
Yeah.
But I think it's equivalent to 1 hall of
Yeah.
the Anaheim space. But what's hilarious is the second day when we went to lunch or we came in the second day and we went in the wrong hall entrance, and they're like, "This isn't NAMM. You got to go further down." We're like, "Oh, okay." So we went down one, and then they're like. And we're like, oh, still not NAMM. Still not NAMM. Keep going. It was like 4 halls, and the first 2 were something else. And they're like, NAMM's down the hall. And we're like, okay,
yeah,
we get
A
it.
and B was some food thing actually.
And I'm sure there were more people there, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. It
Because they
looked
wouldn't
more
let
of-
us in.
It looked like more of
people were
your
wearing
typical
suits.
trade show.
Yeah, it was an actual like
more
trade
insular. Yeah.
show thing.
Can't let these musicians in here.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, they would probably eat all the samples. It's the first time they've seen a meal in a minute.
So, but it was still cool. There was stuff that I was like not surprised wasn't there, but then there was stuff where I was like, really? Like, every big company, with the exception of Taylor had their own room that was probably the biggest it looked like anybody put into.
Yeah, you had to take a
Having
really
space.
rickety elevator to get to it, though.
Yeah. Which is a theme in Nashville apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Is rickety our hotel had the elevator where it was like, don't jump and like don't jump up and down the
that was
elevator.
at the diner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the diner. It said don't jump.
No, but there was a warning in our elevator
It said
too.
max 2,500 pounds.
Yeah. Well,
But
it
the
also
thing
just
was
kept,
that
like,
time,
shit
right?
chunking.
That time we got in it, and it went like it moved.
Oh,
and
then
then
just
you're
were like, oh,
"That's
maybe
not a
they're all
good
no
sign."
jumping elevators.
You're like, that's not a good sign. And we took the stairs the whole time.
Yeah. Also, because nobody was on them.
Yeah.
If
Were
you
you
don't
guys at
want.
the main hotel for the?
No.
No, here was the great thing though. It was
This was-
about a
yeah, pretty
mile
cool.
away, and I figured, close enough, whatever.
Also, they supposedly had a shuttle.
Yeah, right. So so I was just playing, because I've done this at Winter NAMM. You just sometimes just take cabs if you're not gonna. It doesn't take that long if you're not gonna go back and forth. But the first thing they're like, oh, there's a shuttle. We're like, okay, cool. We'll take the shuttle. And they're like, it'll be 12 minutes. So about 20 minutes later, we're like, hey, about that shuttle. And they're like, oh, they're stuck in traffic. It'll be 12 minutes. And they're like, that's what you said last
Yeah,
time.
we're like-
we don't trust you anymore.
Right. That's clearly
We'll walk
your
a mile.
standard number for like an unknown
Yeah.
amount of time. 12
And
minutes.
I figure the extra mile we walked like made up for the lack of actual floor walking in the NAMM diet,
Right.
which is
which bizarrely in Nashville, every place had seafood, like a lot of it, and you're like, there's no sea here. And
Where'd
actually,
this come from?
actually posted. So I ate oysters, and Kim goes, she's like, that's pretty brave being in a landlocked city. I was like, for breakfast, no less. Eating oysters for breakfast.
It's a big commitment earlier. in the day.
Ironically, I feel like I got more gross stuff, like, because it sounded like the oysters worked out okay.
Oh, yeah,
in
no,
all
no.
situations.
I ate
Some stuff I
oysters-
ate did not work out as well. I was like, this is not.
3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ate oysters 3 times because again, like I would go places, and that's the thing. Like that's the thing that's almost you're guaranteed. It's not gonna make me sick. Is seafood. So I was like, oh, you got oysters?
Though you
All
might
right.
get high on shellfish.
Yeah, I might get high on shellfish. I usually need to eat a lot of shellfish, but that did happen when we went to. I was in St. Michael's on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and we paid like $60, and they came and poured an entire pile of crab. This was the slogan. I wish I could remember it, but it was something like, "If he ain't kicking, we ain't cooking." Like something. So it was supposed to be like, it was basically like, you don't know what crabs they're gonna have until you show up, because it's like whatever they caught that day. And they were like, "Oh, we only have mediums," and we're like, "Fine." So you pay them $60. They pour like an entire pile of crab on your table that's just covered in Old Bay. And I totally did get the like shellfish high, but like it's pretty rare. Like
Yeah.
I have to like eat a substantial amount of shellfish. I'm probably mildly allergic to it. But so I ended up eating like a ton of seafood though, because it was weird. I don't know why Nashville. Maybe because I guess it was because that's the only thing that's not deep fried.
Yeah, it's that or hot chicken. I mean, it's,
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
that's not. I was just gonna say that's the other big weird.
And
Everywhere is hot chicken.
we were right by the hot
so
chicken place.
I think I've heard. I want to say I've heard of this place from like.
No, Kim mentioned it.
Did she?
No, because when I was again in the same thing where I
Yeah.
was like, she was like eating seafood and you're landlocked. That's risky. What was the line at Hattie B's too long?
Right.
And I was like, it is
always
crazy
too
long.
long.
It
There's
is crazy
always a
long.
fucking
But I
line.
also don't think I can eat hot chicken. So
I would not even fuck with hot chicken. I've had chicken that was not called hot chicken that was pretty hot, and so I'm like, hot chicken is not for me. But
Is that hot like stolen?
it was
Like-
literally like yeah, right.
fenced chicken.
It was literally next door to our hotel. Like you walk out and we'd be like, oh, there's the line.
Right, there was always a line down
Yeah.
the block. It was insane. Like if they were open, there was a crazy line at all hours.
It was crazy. So let's see what was pretty notable. I was checking out. I was surprised Ibanez wasn't there.
Well, right. So this is worth mentioning. It was there were a number of people or companies rather that made product announcements
yeah.
for Summer NAMM that were not at Summer NAMM. So Ibanez was one of them. Hoshino. Now, my theory on this is that if you're a retailer, right, and you're going to NAMM to look at product to put in the store, you have a purchasing cycle that's somewhat aligned with the show. And so there were probably companies that, for whatever reason, didn't feel like it was worth it to go to Summer NAMM, but still wanted to release product on the cycle so that
Right.
they wouldn't miss out on some business. But like, it's just weird that you would, and again, maybe it's just for the SEO, right? So people searching new product for NAMM.
Right, because I was going to say that I think on the customer end, it's become part of the sort of announcement cycle. Is like it's a good because gear nerds on the internet are just going to be searching for NAMM,
Right.
blah blah blah, and so which I was doing a week before NAMM. Even I was like, what? Give me the
Right.
previews.
Well, right, and so that
and
was
then
the
I went to
thing.
look for that shit, and it wasn't. Although one of the ones that I thought wasn't there, I didn't see Korg. They announced like a stage piano, and I saw in the like NAMM awards that they got some award for it, and it had a booth, but it must have been like jammed in somebody else's booth or something. Because I did not. You would notice Korg. They're big. They usually have a huge booth.
Yeah.
And I did not see it. So I feel like maybe that, sometimes they'll do like a partnership, like you show off this thing so we don't have to go and we'll give you some money or whatever. Or who knows. But Korg one I didn't see. But I was looking, Ibanez announced like 3 guitars. They weren't that exciting, but I was like, I'll try.
Right,
them.
but I still wanted
I still
to
want
just
to play
go
them.
play.
I still want to play the
Ibanez's.
guitars. Yeah. I also wanted to play the current Thorndahl in person again to see if I liked it.
I want to play
This is-
motion.
Yeah, well, and in my head, I'm like, this is what it'd be like if I was playing that guitar. But like, you can't tell that it's like an 8-string because it's in my mind. And like, I'm playing the first fret. That's what I'm doing. I'm genting.
How hard are you chanting?
Not that hard.
Okay.
Not that hard. because it's not. There's no real guitar. But it's so. What I did look at. Oh, sorry. So do we have anything else about the whole? People who else was not there that maybe.
Oh, that wasn't there. No, I don't have comments about who wasn't there. I have comments about who was there to see who was there.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Well, I feel like you have the better comments about the Kiesel booth.
Oh yeah. Okay, so because that's what I was gonna say. So I was looking at Kiesel because I got
why not?
in my mental guitar queue. As part of my debilitating guitar addiction, which if you want to know more about my debilitating guitar addiction, please subscribe to my other YouTube channel, The One True Matt, where I'll be chronicling it extensively until I am a homeless man with the best guitar collection of any homeless person. That's the end goal. So I want a longer scale 7-string with a fixed bridge for genting, and it's like I'm gonna get a sweet 8-string, but that'll do gent 2, but it'll do also a lot of other stuff. But I want like a 27 or 26.5 inch 7-string with a fixed bridge, so I can tune it to like drop G flat or some dumb crap, and it'll be good for some of the gentrified stuff and whatever. And like not spending a ton of money on one because it's just kind of a weird. Specific guitar for a specific purpose. So I was looking at Kiesel because I was one of the Ibanez announcements was a 7-string, was an RGD. Probably wouldn't have worked because it had a trem, but it wasn't there anyway. So yeah, I looked at Kiesel a bunch, but like the first thing I was like, so do you have any 7-strings with 27-inch scale that aren't multi-scale? No. That's the one thing like.
Well, they said
did not have represented.
They wanted to bring one, but it wasn't done in time.
Yeah, it was on the build schedule, but they didn't get it done. And the other interesting thing, so this is another perfect comparison to the Winter NAMM. Winter NAMM Kiesel booth is like most booths are, like a wall. Like you can think of them in terms of like little like blocks, like little sections. They're like 1 or 2 squares wide, and that's it. Kiesel is like 4 walls. That like the outside,
it's a hut.
Right?
It's a hut.
The outside
so
of the
they've
4
hung
walls
guitars on the outside
and the inside, and then there's also like a middle channel or 2 where they have amps and stuff. So it's an insane booth. It's a great booth because you can play like everything.
In terms of gear per square foot, it is probably the highest.
Yeah,
they cram more stuff into that booth,
and definitely that you can actually play.
Oh yeah.
By far, because like ESP at Winter NAMM is like you can only touch the cheap shit.
Oh right, ESP has tons of gear, but it's like you would need a ladder to get it.
Yeah,
and even the stuff you don't need a ladder for, it has the signs like ask for assistance.
Yeah.
This is sold. Like.
Yeah. So I see Kiesel's booth at Summer NAMM, and it's like like 2 spaces wide, maybe a little more, and then I'm like, oh, that's like one of the walls of the Kiesel hut, and then it's like, nope, that's the booth.
That's it.
That's the whole thing.
Booth.
But they still have a decent amount of guitars, and I figured out some stuff. For example, I'm not gonna buy one of their headless guitars, or at least not like anytime soon, because they gent. So like I played one like a multi-scale 7, and the low 2 or 3 strings were like, I was like, oh, this is great. This is all genty. And then as soon as I started going up, like I just started like doing some like ascending scale stuff, and right as you get to like the 4th and 3rd strings, it turns into a total ice pick in the forehead, and you're just like, what? No, And I was like, I cannot use this guitar. And I also noticed that like their lithium pickups or whatever are totally genty pickups. Like that's got to be a big part of their audience, because it's like they always it's like I can't tell if they know their pickups suck or not. I mean, I know they don't say that, but like whenever they come up with a new one, they just chuck the old ones, and so it's almost like they know that like, well, that didn't work either.
It's like no one is buying them for the pickups,
right? And they keep insisting. Like I watched this excessively long tour video the other day, which I was tempted to be like, let's just watch some of this, because some of the shit he says, you're like, why are you being so like hostile towards
the factory tour?
The Jeff Kiesel. It was funny because it was both Jeff Kiesel but also the Tone King, because it was on the Tone King's site, but the Tone King was just basically holding the camera.
I thought you were gonna say just throwing horns the whole time.
We'll be probably doing that too, but like mostly you don't hear him, and I think he actually mic'd up Jeff, because everything Jeff said you could hear great, but everything else you didn't. You just heard people kind of but it was interesting because he's really like he keeps comparing himself to other small builders, but they're not really small, and they really haven't been small in a long time. And so it's like, but it was like he was throwing the shade so hard that I was like, you don't have to, like, none of the people that you sound like you're throwing shade at are actual competition for you. Like, it's not a problem. But he'd be like, so, we get the wood in, and, there's a lot of laws now about what kind of wood you can get, and some of these guys, they're getting illegal wood, and, it's like a thing, and he's like, our wood, all totally legal. And, like, but he's not naming names, but he keeps every station of, like, guitar building, he's basically saying the same thing. It's like, so we got this kiln, we dry the wood real good. It's like, because you got to dry the wood. But he goes on this whole spiel about, like, it's a family business, we got generations of experience, blah, 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 blah. And at the end, I'm like, so dry the wood is what you're saying. What you're saying is, you got to dry the wood. That is correct. You should dry the wood properly so that your guitar is kind of stable.
Also, weird to talk about a generational family business when you literally just rebranded
Right.
everything.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, there were zero like I get Carvin is dead as a guitar label.
Right. It's the amps.
They're all
amps now.
Kiesels.
Yeah. So let's see what. Oh yeah, and I think actually I think the Tone King was interviewing Jeff at the show, and I kind of like didn't notice or something.
Yeah,
until he was gone, and I was like, oh shit, we missed the Tone King.
I didn't see Phil either from Know Your Year.
Yeah,
I know he was
Phil
there, but I didn't see him.
So the
But people at that booth were really excited.
right. So I went there a few times to try some stuff out, and even though I couldn't find, they didn't have the specific thing, I narrowed down like the model I wanted, and I kind of worked, and part of my whole thing is if I can keep it under a certain price, which if you're careful with the options, if you know which options are valuable, you can work their system. But their system is also set up to just fleece people who think that every option they have is A, necessary, or B, even useful. Because like the next they get into with like 7-piece, and you're like, you don't.
Well, and I think most of the most expensive options are the cosmetic ones.
Right. Oh yeah. No, completely cosmetic. Yeah, it's very and they have like this tricky thing that people still buy where it's like at the page where you pick your top, it says that flame maple and and quilt maple are included. But they're only included until you get to the color picking stage, and then they're all the same price, which is $250 for flame, $400 for quilt. And so basically, it's $250 for a flame, $400 for a quilt, and then the color doesn't really make much difference. But it's set up so you're like, oh, it's free, I gotta get a flame, and then you're like, oh wait, I gotta pick. So
that's also bizarre.
Right.
That flame would be like half the price of quilt because
I
for people who don't know. Quilt is a soft maple and flame's a hard maple.
I think,
try to avoid a quilt.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is like so much of it is, it's not at all practical. Like you can get like a whole, whatever kind of different maple necks, different grains and stuff, but the grain's always like a less stable option. So usually that's why it's not common on necks. Usually the best thing is just a solid one-piece maple neck, which costs you nothing. That's the default option. All the other neck options are like more money, not necessarily better. Also, like he goes through in the factory tour how they have like carbon rods now, so everything should be relatively stable. But
wait, like carbon truss rods or carbon insert rods?
Insert rods.
See, that's actually not good though, because if you do experience like a dramatic environmental change, what will happen is the wood will change and the rod won't.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's why hopefully they're dried properly and stuff, so it should be a little less.
Well, yeah, but if they're dried properly, you don't need any carbon rods in there.
Like, ideally, correct. Well, this is another.
You can have a truss rod made out of carbon fiber.
Right.
You can do that, but you should never just
This
have
is what everybody's doing now. This is how everyone's getting around the fact that it's harder to make longer scale stable necks and more and wider. So like,
but I had a 6-string.
All the Ibanez's have titanium.
No, I had a 6-string carbon base.
Yeah,
that was a 1-piece maple neck.
Yeah,
it was fine.
Well, yeah, exactly, and it should be fine. But I think my point is, it's become another one of those things that everybody has. So everybody's like, gotta have those rods in there.
Yeah, right. They're idiots.
Yeah, and Another funny thing in the video is when he's talking about both the carbon fiber rods and the truss rod, he's like he's like, look at it, it's so strong. I can't bend it with my hands. See, like he spends way too long on that. And like, why would you? Like, he's like,
Right.
I can't even look. I'm trying real hard, putting all my and like, why? Why are you gonna get your guitar home and go? Let's see what happens if I try to break your neck with my hands. Like, no, Jeff, nobody's doing that. Relax, it's cool. Like you got customers. Oh, that was the other thing is that I'm on the Kiesel group on Facebook now, and it's very. Look, any guitar company, like the group on Facebook thing is a great business model because it really gets your like customers talking to each other and just circle jerking over your product. And then they're just like, oh man, yeah. Like everybody like post your guitar and everyone else is like, oh, it's so cool. You know, which brings us back to the guy at the booth. So Saturday, we come in and I'm kind of just doing a final check. I'm like, I want to see if this is the model that I kind of like and whatever, even though it's not the exact same, or you know, find one with the same body wood, see how the weight's kind of like, that kind of thing. And while I was trying it out, there was this other dude there who was like, everyone was really enthusiastic, especially the people who work there. Like, was that dude who gave me his card was called Flock,
Yeah.
which I assume is because his hair looks like a flock of seagulls, or maybe I'm implying.
I don't know.
It didn't seem like a given name, especially because I don't think there was like it was just like, I'm Flock. I'm like, all right, whatever, dude. And I've seen him on their
Okay,
their stuff
Sting.
before. Yeah, exactly. All right, whatever, Gordon. But this one dude was like so excited. Like the first thing I heard him say, he just playing guitar, and just from over my shoulder I hear, "This feels so good," and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, there's no
Right, no, and he wasn't saying it to anyone. It's not like he was there with his best friend,
Right.
and he was
He
like,
was clearly by himself.
Dude, you gotta check this out. It was totally like anyone who will listen
anyone
to me.
in earshot. And then like, because like kind of like, yeah, you kind of went like, what? He continued to talk in our general direction. Oh, and then as I was trying guitar, he saw that we had buyer badges.
Yeah. So we have retail. There's 4 types of badges you can have at NAMM. There's the you're a nobody badge. There's the you work for a company badge. There's a you are a like artist who endorses something and you're going to play during a thing. And then there is a you are here for a company that like this the whole reason why everyone is displaying, because you are a buyer.
Right.
Like the idea is your company is going to purchase a large volume of stock. And so
Yeah.
you are the people they are trying to impress. And those are the badges we had. We had retail buyer badges.
Yeah. So, dude was like, "Oh man, what's it like to go to the show with a buyer badge?" And we're like, "It's like this, bro. It's like this. It's you're living like
exactly this.
It's the same as any other badge, especially when you treat people as like normal human
right.
beings.
If you have basic,
if you aren't a total spaz.
if you have social skills, you can like." People are, you know, may not even notice what it says on your badge. You know, like for several years, I went with the worst badge, which is the retail employee badge, especially from Sam Ash, because they're like, "Why are you here? Like, how did you get here?" It's like, "Because I paid for it." Like that's how. Like not because they send anybody. They send their one buyer for each. Oh, I probably shouldn't talk shit about Sam Ash. Anyway, nobody will see this. Nobody there knows what a podcast is. Actually, they probably don't, because I don't think there's any like company associated podcasts.
Ben's not doing that already.
I don't think he's doing social media anymore
Oh.
because he's a regional manager. Anyway, so so this dude's very excited. It was funny because later on we experienced the one thing that does happen. Although again, at Summer NAMM, I think it's just a wash anyway. But at Winter NAMM, you occasionally, if you have a buyer badge, will get more of an immediate hard like pitch from people
it
about
also
their stuff.
completely depends on the kind of booth you're going to.
Right.
Because our badges, it's my brother's company. It's not so it's again like it's not like Sam Ash where it's like, okay, well we know you guys like this is what you buy. Like they have no idea what we buy. And if you're going to look at like PAs and stuff, like, you know, they'll probably be more likely to give you the pitch than at a guitar booth where they're like, yeah, we know you're just here to like play guitars. Like,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to buy anything. Like,
Right.
they get it. That's,
So
Well, a lot
it
of people
also
have done business with your brother, look at our badges, and want to talk to us like right away.
oh yeah.
Well, yeah,
but that's because they know who my
Right,
brother
right.
is. That's like,
And so
not-
that's part of it. It's like if they don't, and I've had actually, even when I was a retail employee, I had people who saw Sam Ash, especially
Right.
smaller brands who don't know like the structure because they don't have a contact at Sam Ash. They're like,
Right.
you might know somebody, and maybe I'm like, I will maybe buy one of these for myself, but I'll whatever you think is gonna happen.
Oh.
Let's act like that's the deal. Whereas I'm like, oh, I just want one for myself. Like, I'm just here for me. I just want guitars and stuff. But although now I kind of push them like, oh, we've mentioned the podcast pretty effectively to some people.
including randos on the street.
Is
Not
there
even
like
at
a-
the show. That
Is
was
there a
great.
Hall E equivalent at Summer NAMM?
No,
It's all mixed together.
no, it's
Here's
just-
the weird
yeah,
thing,
it's
though.
just mixed
but
together.
there is Hall E type stuff.
Oh,
so
yeah,
some
for
people
sure.
are just like,
Of course there is.
this is going to be the opportunity. It's probably cheaper than Winter NAMM. They're like, other bands don't think this is worth it, but we do, and so they think they. But then it's probably
well, the other thing is, or if you are close to Nashville,
Right,
and getting
that's
to
true.
LA with your stock is a big deal.
That's true, and that
So
was
there's
the
some
other
companies like there was a few that were like they're like, oh, we've never been to Winter NAMM.
Right,
They're like, we only
right.
come to Summer NAMM,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they usually it's because they were
It's
regional.
probably very cost effective then.
And but no, what was funny was actually one of the most Hall E booths was there was this one they had all these like dumb straps and they were like the crap with like where it has like marijuana leaves over it or it's a picture of a chain. You pointed that out. Instead of being a strap that's a chain, you can get one that's just a picture of chain
Chains
links.
are heavy, so
But then they had the strap where it was this dude who looked like he was straight out of the 80s and it said straight out of Jersey on it. And the people working the booth were like, "Oh, do you know?" And they said his name.
Yeah.
Like I was like, "No, I've never heard of this dude." Like
What's
if
his
I
name?
had, I think I would have recognized him. Shredder Mike or something. I don't know.
I wish I could remember the name of the company too, because actually the one thing they had that was interesting is custom coasters, which I was like, I should actually look into that. That would be cool.
The woman had her pitch down. But what was
Yeah.
weird was she was like, "We won Best in Show," or something
right?
like
they,
that.
they at one point in time they won some award,
And I was just like, "That's weird," because you have a lot of crazy campy crap. But I mean, she was nice. But Shredder. I posted. It's on my Instagram.
I think I saw it, but briefly.
I'll bring it up.
to have the name of the company on your Instagram.
No, but there might be something in the booth.
Oh, yeah.
Tone King posted something about it.
Yeah.
Oh,
About how he's straight out of Jersey. Yeah, so they had these, like, even just the other straps right next to it. Police line, do not cross. And one with, like, a Hawaiian hula girl on it. And then one that was, like, tie-dye. Like, they're all just straps that are way too loud, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, it has his signature on it. Like, I think it says Shredder something. But I can't
yeah, I
make
have
it
no
out.
idea what that says.
Here, I'll put it up on the thing.
It was weird. Yeah. No, and you'll even see my comment. Apparently this booth won some Best in Show award. I'm not making this up. Like because if I posted that with this picture of this dude, like I would not think that I would think that I'm saying that as a joke.
While
But-
we're at it, let's look at some of these great. Like you posted this from the Kiesel booth, just like this guy.
Oh yeah, so they had all these. The Carvin had all the signature. Pull up the other one.
Is this the company? Rubington Straps?
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. And then they had this is the old Alan Holdsworth picture, right? And
Yeah.
Carvin used to be all their pictures of the endorsees and everything had the like weird slate backgrounds that you would expect to see in like yearbooks
Yeah.
or like corporate materials from the 80s.
Right. Well, because
And-
some of them were from the 80s
Right, no,
and
I know.
90s.
And so, like, when you're looking at this totally looks like a Tim and Eric bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It looks like Tim
It really
Heidecker
does.
was like, oh, let's take some 80s style photos. And even like the guitar, right? Because it's a wacky looking guitar.
Yeah.
It's like one humbucker, weird looking Red Beach thing in this aqua color. I was like, oh man. You can bring up the Negrini too. There's all kinds of stuff. Oh no, bring up the fate. So this was weird. He had this inlay was apparently the guy who bought it. That's his girlfriend. I was like, I hope that's a very committed relationship.
Yeah.
Bring
Because
up.
this was a $13,000 guitar.
Oh yeah, and it took 2 years to make. Bring up the ESP. Down. No, you had it, right there. The telly.
Oh yeah.
So this was a game changer. So ESP released a relic telly that's only $400.
What?
Right? Because it's like the relicing. It was clearly like this was not done by hand. It's like this is a machine line relic, and the quality of the relic was hilariously bad. But it's like why would you buy a relic in the first place? So it was just hilarious to me because normally you want to buy something relic, they charge you like $4,000, right? $400. I was like, this is amazing. I hope that anyone who's like, oh, I really want a relic, instead of dropping $4,000, is like, oh, I'll just buy the $400. Because it's like, are you gonna play that relic? Probably not. So who cares if it's a crappy $400 guitar?
Maybe it's like out of fashion now. So it goes from like big ticket to.
Oh, if the show was any indication, it is not out of fashion. There were guys there who all they do is make relics.
Jeez.
We did find our only too many strings of the show. Oh,
Well,
here's
I
the
mean-
other Negrini, by the way. Here's the 7-string.
Yeah, that was the
multi-scale.
cool one. Too bad it was multi-scale, but that's the one we played.
Ovation.
Oh yeah, Ovation had these 8 strings.
What? Yeah.
And no, what's unfortunate was on Saturday when we went over there, when these pictures were taken, we didn't have the video camera because this dude came up and gented hard on it. It was hilarious. His like these dudes from Michigan, they were so funny. They were like total like hipsters. But the one guy was just like cranking out the gent on it. He just like cranked the amp.
Oh, here was the other amusing Kiesel is Stevie T.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, Stevie T has a thing, and clearly he took it very seriously.
Yeah.
Like he does for everything. So props to Stevie T.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the only other really too many strings thing was that double neck that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was, oh man, it was such a hunk of junk. It was one of those like, I don't know. I think it made in China, like
Yeah.
just like copies of stuff, and just everything they had was just garbage. But it was amusing. I don't know if there was anything else like super hilarious at the show.
Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Because most of it was just pretty straightforward. It wasn't big enough to have like a lot of comedy.
Yeah. And there wasn't like a whole lot of like we were looking for, you know, the equivalent of like the Schecter party or something. The only thing we found was an Epiphone party.
Yeah.
Which in itself sounds like normally you'd be like, oh, is there a Gibson
Gibson
party?
party?
There's an Epiphone party.
And you're like, oh.
And we went to that, and it was sort of dead too. So,
Yeah, it was a little light, a little thin,
yeah.
but there were no bachelorette parties at it. So
That's true.
That was Broadway.
Everyone
Was,
in Nashville is about to get married.
right? Well, no,
Like,
it's
constantly.
funny because I just talked to someone who was like, "Yeah, there's like this point when you're down there where you just realize that like it's all just bachelorette parties." And I go, "Yeah, we realized that like immediately,
Right, like one day.
because
one day.
you see a lot of large groups of women who are either all wearing the same stylized shirt or following one girl who has a tiara or a veil, like the tiny part of a veil, like whatever you call it. I'm not up on wedding attire. Sorry. You can correct me in the comments. So it was the other thing that was super weird where there were multiple people cosplaying Trump.
Oh,
But not like I'm a dude bro at a bar and I'm cosplaying Trump to get attention. There was even one that was a Trump and a Hillary, and they were like on the street, and I don't know if it was like the Spider-Man in Times Square kind of deal where they're looking like they want you to take a picture and like get a tip,
I don't
or
know.
if it was like to draw attention to whatever bar they were standing out in front of. It
It
just
had to be
made
one of
no
those,
sense.
but it was it was weird.
Yeah,
It was very weird.
We were there. We saw it and we were confused. Like it was super weird. But yeah, I don't know. So Nashville. The other thing was like, there were. I guess it is the place for live music. There are live bands everywhere.
So there's this street, Broadway, which also the first time somebody mentioned Broadway, it confused me because we had just said we were from New York. And they're like, oh, saving all your money for Broadway, huh? And I was like, what? Like in New York, all we do is spend money on going to Broadway shows? Like I was like, there's a street here. That's where all the stuff is. And that was the big tourist street at least. And every bar on that street was like a honky tonk with like a live band. And and that was the other thing, you go to Nashville, you're like, oh, you got to go see some live music. If you like live music, that's the town for you. And it was like, first of all, when people are like, do you like live music? I'm like, it depends.
Right,
like,
that one guy, he goes, do you guys like live music? I go, is it Meshuggah?
right. Oh, no, because then it was,
He was like, they have the best band.
He said the best band is playing there, and you're like, Meshuggah's playing?
Yeah, I was like, Meshuggah's playing there?
Yeah.
Why have I not heard about this?
Right, and it was like,
your idea of what the best band is very skewed.
Yeah, like that's, it's like, if your whole thing is like, do you like live music, yes or no? It's like, your bar is set very low.
Well, and it was like, you like bar music.
Right.
You like bar rock.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
maybe bar country.
Yeah, and it was...
You like a snare that's way too loud.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I guess it's to be expected. Like, if you go to New Orleans, you know what kind of like music you're going to hear there. If you go to Nashville,
yeah, but
it
can
was
you imagine?
Pretty much to be.
Can you imagine living that either as
No,
someone
that's why
who
I would never live in that.
either someone who
either
lives in
those towns.
Nashville or someone who works that circuit, like.
Oh yeah.
I
Well,
couldn't even-
again, like a lot of people, they dig it. It's like so. Martin was like, "Oh, it's a great band here." I'm like, "I'm sure they're good musicians, but I heard what they're playing. It's the same thing everybody's playing on that street." And
There's
I don't.
actually good shows in New Orleans though. Like,
Well, yeah, but again, it's a different. So it's like,
right.
but it's gonna be more towards like jazz.
Yeah,
and
right. I
that
was gonna
kind
say
of
you could
stuff.
also argue that the jazz shows in New York are good, but you don't see me going down to Smalls.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's my point is you're going to get, there's a certain, that's what you're getting is that town's thing. And we heard it because
Right. You just walk
the
down the
doors
street.
are open, the windows are open, half the places you can hear, you don't have to go in. We're just like,
Right.
what is it? No, that's not,
Yeah,
that's not what I
you're
want.
like,
That's
I'm
not what I
good.
want. I'm good. And you kept going to the next one. And no thanks. That's good. And so he's like, the best band. And I'm like, if you had told me that the second I got here before I had heard any of that, I might have been like, I'm gonna check that out. But then I was like, nah, that's fine. But it turned out our hotel was like, well, it was a mile away from the convention center. It was near like a lot of food and a lot of bars that were actually better.
Right. It's where the
than
locals
tourist
hang
strip.
out.
Yeah,
Right.
so we
Because
found the
Broadway's
good
all
local stuff.
tourists and bridesmaids.
Yeah.
But where we were, Midtown, right? It was pretty packed. There was a good selection. However, the internet jukebox never played my
yeah.
Meshuggah tracks.
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it,
Whatever.
we put
I
it
lost-
in pretty late
I lost
by
$2.
bar jukebox standards.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
part of the scam.
I love when that works though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we just got it next year. We just got to, is there a bar jukebox? Put Meshuggah on it, and then
Get there early.
see if it pays off. Yeah,
The boys are back.
the boys are back.
Oh, so the one other thing we should
else?
talk about. We went to the next day. We went to what was that place called? Caldwell's.
Oh, the vintage, yeah. Carter's vintage guitars.
Carter's vintage guitars.
Yeah, those are
and
pretty
that place
sweet.
was really cool. So they had. So first of all, the overarching theme for this whole weekend was not enough strings.
Not enough strings. Hashtag not enough strings.
Everything had 6 strings. The exception being those 2 ovations and a couple
Yes.
sevens at the Kiesel booth.
And the irony was also that the ovations were right next to the Godam booth, where I always go to play the 7-string classical, which they did not have
Which
there.
they didn't have, yeah. No, like everything was a 6 string. So we go to this place, Carter, because actually Phil from Know Your Music, he posted a picture from there, and I was like, "Where's that? We should go to that." And then I found it. So we go there, and they had some cool stuff. Like they had They had a couple pre-CBS strats. They had the John Schaefer from Meister.
Oh yeah.
Les Paul. Did you
Here,
take a picture
let
of
me
it?
I'll just go through my Instagrams.
Oh, okay, cool.
Put it back on the thing. All right, so this is just, pile of amps, which who cares? I have an Axe FX.
Right.
But I'm sure they're like,
No, seriously, it's like, why would you? Who buys an amp?
like if you have a studio, maybe like you're gonna, but it's like,
and I don't
or
understand.
You could just have an
I
Axe.
don't even understand these boutique amp companies that show up to NAMM and you're like, we have this amp. It has one great sound and it costs $2,000 to $3,000. And you're like, you know what else costs $2,000 to $3,000? An Axe FX. Actually, I just got a B stock Axe 8 for $1,150. And I've been playing the shit out of that thing. It's awesome. It's
Nice.
way better than your stupid one-channel point-to-point wired amp.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit.
All right, let's
It's
see.
2017.
So, shout out to Dave Koltai from Pigtronics and Supro. I did not notice that was him. I was just taking it. He was standing right next to me, and he did that thing where it was like, I don't think he. I used to kind of know him when I was at Sam Ash, because when I found out about their like sales, reward deal, I started selling the crap out of their pedals, and so I got a bunch of their pedals for free because I sold a bunch of their pedals. And their pedals are great, so it was easy. I was just like, these are cool, and people would be like, I want a fancy pedal. I'm like, get one of these, and it was great. So, but I don't think he like recognized me or anything. He just was doing that thing where somebody needed to know he found the guitar he wanted.
He said it to me too.
Yeah,
and that
he was like, "This is the one."
He picks up this PRS. And
Yeah.
he's like, dude, I've been looking forever for one of these. He's like, shit.
And I was like, whatever,
He's
weird
like-
guitar, dude. I'm like, oh shit, sorry. Later on, I was like, in my phone, oh, that's I know that
because
guy.
he went up to the guy working there, and he's like, hey, I own Supro. Can we work out a deal where
Yeah.
I trade you some inventory? Because I really want this. Like,
Yeah.
He's like, but I don't really have cash.
And he also like there's a Long Island gear group on Facebook for like classifieds. He's on there a lot trading stuff. He buys a lot of old guitars and old amps and stuff. But yeah, so that was cool, and you get a good look at their guitar selection. Here's just another like everybody. It was pretty. There was a little like mimosas and some food and stuff going on there.
It turns out it wasn't their thing though. It was Carlton cases.
Yeah.
Carlton cases. Shout out to them. They gave us a lot of free food and drink and
some
shirts
t-shirts
that are really soft.
Yeah.
Probably should have worn that for the show, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, we'll wear that another one, and we also got
Wear it on another episode.
We also got the Eventide ones.
Eventide gave a shirt. Eventide were super cool.
One of
to
us will wear next episode. One of us will wear the Eventide. One of us will wear the Carlton cases,
Okay.
and then we'll shout out back to this.
But yeah, they had everything here was overpriced. First of all, but they had really cool stuff. They had a master built Jeff Beck Strat. They had a bunch of Andersons. They had that Yngwie kind of like it was a 70s or 80s like 57 reissue.
That's not from the guitar store.
Yeah,
Oh, it went backwards, that's why.
There's you playing the
Okay, so here's
Yngwie Strat.
well, here's the first one that was interesting to me, because in my list of like, the guitar fetish collection, like if you just gave me unlimited money specifically for guitars, I would buy a Les Paul custom from around. Basically, I would buy this. This is exactly what I would want, because this is how much money I would also want to spend on it. The point is, there's a certain little spot in the used market where you can get a Les Paul from like the 80s or 90s, $2,500. That's going to be way better than like a new one. Also, way cheaper than a new one. Have an actual ebony fingerboard. And since it's still not like warped or anything now, you also know it's really stable and shit. So anyway, that was cool. I would have bought that, but the other one I would have considered, but probably not actually bought, because it was actually more expensive than that. 1982 57 reissue Strat, aka the Yngwie Malmsteen Session.
And it was the correct color too.
Exactly,
It's the
exactly.
Yngwie color.
The point is, if Yngwie knew that existed, he would buy it and scallop the fuck out of it. And I was tempted to buy it just so he couldn't. But this picture will do.
I'm sure he has enough.
This was a private stock Santana that I don't know if he played it. I don't know if private stock means it was his private stock or just they made a really nice one, and that's just a marketing thing. But it was like $8,000, so either way.
Yeah, because that's $8,000 was around the price for the other, like, this was owned by someone.
Yeah. And then
So
they
there weren't a ton of ukuleles at the show.
Surprising.
Yeah.
Unlike Winter NAMM where there's a ton. But this uke had steel strings and Seymour Duncans. So,
Were there any ukes with the medical tubing for that?
no, I didn't. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
bass uke basses.
Yeah.
Those sound surprisingly good when you plug them in. It's weird. Like they had some at Sam Ash, and you'd be like, those things, and they plug them in, and you'd be like, what bass is that? And it's like one of those fucking things.
Huh.
They're surprisingly. Oh yeah, and then this is the John Schaefer. Well, a Les Paul custom from 1969,
it's just black. You're not missing anything
Yeah.
by not seeing it. Imagine a black Les Paul.
used by John Schaefer on Iced Earth's Crucible of Man and Dystopia. I don't think that's why it's $15,000. I just think like they probably even owned it and then like lent it to him or something. You know what I mean? Like somebody lent him that,
And even then,
for those tracks.
Citation
knows?
needed.
Yeah, it's like, or you could have just stopped at 1969 Les Paul Custom, and like nobody's like, oh shit, now I'm gonna spend $50,000 on this because it was used on a later mediocre Iced Earth album. Yeah, and then there's you singing into a giant microphone.
If you go to mine, there's the Steinberger. Explore. Yeah. Oh, and the Broadway
yeah.
jazz. So this is crazy. So this is an original. By the way, everything at the shop is super clean. Like that's the thing that's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's a
is
really nice shop. I would,
all the things, like you might, like they're not only just things that you're like not expecting to see, they're in a condition you're not expecting them to be in. So this is an original 91 XM2, and so the thing that's crazy about this is the EMG didn't make bass pickups then. Those are guitar pickups, and they've just spaced it out five. So it's actually kind of crowded for 5-string bass, but it was super clean. But that was cool. And then the next one is the Broadway jazz. Yeah, so they had this Hoyer Broadway jazz from the 60s. If I was gonna buy one thing in the store, I would have bought this.
nice.
His nylon string single pickup is really, I didn't plug it in, but just unplugged. It was super loud. It sounded great. And the headstock was surprisingly elaborate for being a
and
guitar that old.
here's
Did you play the Steinberger?
here's the shitty double neck we
I
mentioned
didn't plug
earlier.
it in, but yeah, so yeah, at the Chinese booth, this thing was such garbage. It sounded so bad. I'm not even sure. I'm not sure what the headstock says because I was just so amused. Like, I think it.
Lyman, I think.
Well, I think it might, which it's funny because I'm named after my grandfather who was Ed Lyman.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Shit.
be like, they're ruining your name, Gramps. Yeah, it's it was such a piece of junk. Yeah, the rest of my they're just aside from the Negrini, the rest of my time there was just ridiculous signs that we saw.
These guys were what, low end basses?
Yeah,
They
low
were
end bases,
pretty-
which is a horrible name for SEO.
I have so the video I shot. I'm gonna put some. I'll edit some kind of thing together. Because it's in 4K, but the sound all came out terribly because the little mic I was using was not good for NAMM at all. In any the
So just overdub it with Meshuggah.
exactly. No, I'm just gonna
Or really
overdub most of
smooth
it with
music.
yeah, exactly. Just like library music and do some highlight clips because it looks decent enough. I think that's all we got for exciting things, and then I'll put us back up. Cool. So yeah, let's see, anything else about Summer NAMM? I think that pretty much covers that.
No, I think if we go again, like I said, it just it's like take Friday off
Yeah.
kind of deal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Try to fly out Saturday night, so you basically only
Yeah.
you pay 2 nights of hotel
Yeah.
and that's
Or
it.
I mean, you could fly. I mean, it was decent enough hanging out at bars there and stuff.
Oh yeah,
So we could always do like if you book early, I think Sunday would be all right. But I think the reason that it ended up being, we booked kind of late. So like it was probably, it was cheaper to stay the extra night because all the good flights had already been booked up. and
yeah.
shit,
Well,
so.
just flying on Sunday is typically expensive.
Yeah,
Because
that too.
you have both people who need to be somewhere for Monday and people who are returning from somewhere.
yeah.
It's just a worse day to fly.
Yeah. But yeah, I would go again if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely had fun. There was lots of stuff to play. Like especially like Gibson had the same kind of setup they have at Summer NAMM, like just much smaller, but like they had tons of stuff you could just play. Like it was great.
Yeah, Gibson's was pretty decent.
Oh, the one actually cool-ish surprise was Jackson had a 7-string topographic neck through
Ooh.
that
I got a video of that too.
it was it Swamp Ash? We asked him. I was like,
This
where's
is
it made?
mahogany.
No, it was
body.
mahogany, correct? Because the wood grain looked mahogany, mahogany back, maple top, but it was like
Veneer,
like,
yeah,
veneer,
veneer.
right? And unfortunately, the deal breaker for me, well, I would never buy one anyway because I only played one specific bridge, but it had the offset, not the dots and not the shark. It's like the shark,
the mini shark fin on both, like the Misha models.
yeah, like the Misha thing. So,
I actually looked into that because there's because it was also this weird green color. It actually comes in another color that I was like,
Oh, yeah.
considering because I could probably get a really good
like red or yellow.
It was like a SL. I think it was SL 7Q maybe or something.
That's the right inlays. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There it is.
So, but the other this guy, it's still mahogany, but it's like a transparent, like I guess transparent black. So it kind of looks like gray. Oh, here, let me put it on a thing that we can actually all see.
That'd be nice.
But same guitar, although also with a fixed bridge. So that's another reason I was considering it.
Oh.
But it's this 25.5-inch scale.
Yeah, that'll get you to B flat.
Yeah.
That's about it.
But for a cheap,
But there's the one SL7Q Pro. That was the one.
yeah.
That they had at the show.
Oh,
Oh,
that's-
you're joining the family.
ugh.
The Juggalo family.
That's not even the same.
The Manson family.
Anyway, here's the. Oh no, that's not it either. It's this. All right. None of this is on the screen, by the way, so
Oh,
we only look marginally stupid.
you're the one driving.
I only look marginally stupid. All right, now it's up. That's the guy. Let's see. You can't really. There's no picture of the back, so you can't see the whole. But I have video of us like examining the topographic and stuff, so we can. I'll post a little video at some point.
Alien burst.
Oh, maybe this is the other.
That's what happened to Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, it's just satin
Right.
black. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, otherwise not enough strings.
Yeah, there was very few guitars with more than 6
With
strings.
the correct number of strings.
A lot of relic stuff.
All right, well, should we call it? I think we got a solid episode. Let's see, some stuff we're gonna have more episodes coming up soon. Hopefully, we got some interesting topics like the special 1-track thing.
And hopefully we'll get that John Mayer episode in.
Oh, yeah, and
with Dave from Guitar
Just-
Happy Hour.
Just as we listened to all of the Katy Perry album, I listened to all of the quote-unquote best John Mayer album, and I have thoughts on that. So more of that coming soon. So like and subscribe or whatever your thing is. And I'm turning it off now.